destroy liberation just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews on the Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network. Today is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. It is the 34th week of comics in 2024. Still no Twitter bots, still not working, so hence the delay there. Got to sort things out. But, you know, we'll not worry about that tonight. Who knows? Want real people, want real humans watching this time. There we go. I'm Matthew. He's Chris. We'll do quick plugs out, get that out of the way. First, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at IonCannonPod, EYEONCANONPOD, and on Twitter at StarRaptor, STARRAPTER. Also YouTube. You can check out Chris's YouTube channel down below, as well as the Discord server, Underworld Discord server. We got I got conversations. We got maybe there's an Outlaws spoiler thread now, so go in there and buyer beware. Of course, it's free, so you don't really have to go buying. But anyway, I know I'm Matthew. That's Chris. Chris, how you doing this week?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm getting out of the Outer Rim for just an hour or so, and I'll be right back in after this. So that's where my thoughts are currently.
Welcome back to New Jersey. There we go. And I'm I'm still getting a bit of con withdrawal. Fan Expo Canada recap. Because guess what? There are no books, no news stories, no new comic books.
Wait,
don't
forget about the Ahsoka number 2.
Oh, I forgot about it already. There's we'll get to that. There's no new comic book stories out this week in Star Wars. So yeah, but we got lots to talk about, lots to chat about, including comic book stuff to chat about. So yeah, I'll give you a bit of a rundown here. We got Fan Expo Canada recap. Including a bunch of comic book stuff to chat about there. The Outlaws, Chris, you've gotten your hands on Outlaws, gotten your eyes on Outlaws. I'm by the Outer Rim, and then you want to talk about some other things. So let's dive right into it. It's a little different here, but let's talk about Fan Expo Canada. First off, again, so much to Touchwood PR, to the con for taking care of business. For at least approving the Taylor Swift panel that we did. That went really well. It was really great. Hopefully, Toronto Comic Con, we can get to do some actual Star Wars panels and High Republic panels and whatnot. But might as well dive right in. One of the things, so the way it's going to work, I'm just going to go through a bunch of things. We do have two exclusive interviews to play, and then of course a video clip from a panel down below a little later on. So we'll get through that. We'll get all through that. The first thing to say is this is a big deal for Star Wars. There were more live action stars present doing panels, doing Q&As than I can remember, probably even more than 2016. So really credit to the crew at Fan Expo and Informer for actually getting all those folks in. Credit to all of them for showing up.
Seriously,
is so many cancellations and I recall. I think just Alan Tudyk was the only.
Oh,
but you know what? If just one, because guess what we got? We got both Ahsokas. We got both clones. So we've got Ashley Eckstein and Rosario Dawson. We got D. Bradley Baker and friggin' Temuera Morrison, who I had never seen in person. I've never seen either of them in person. Or Rosario Dawson in person. We got Bryce Dallas Howard. We got Emily Swallow. We got Giancarlo Esposito. And I was able to go up to chat with Marc Guggenheim and Rodney Barnes and Adam Gorham a little bit. Ken Lashley was there too. So definitely lots of Star Wars merch. So on the Star Wars side was happy. I earned my muffins. I earned my coffee. But on that note, all the photos, all the Star Wars photos I took. You can go check out the flagship at the SWU. Thanks to Ben for he's sending in stuff, and he was great posting some fun captions. So check that, including a bust of Darth Vader, all made out of chocolate from Grand Order Fine Sweets. It's fantastic. I hope nobody ever eats it. Hope it just sits there forever and enjoys it, because the work they did on that, really fantastic. So yeah, check that out at the SWU. 2 notes about Ashley Eckstein and then Rosario Dawson. Ashley, yeah, was really good. I mean, she's such a great person and such a great presence. It's Ashley Eckstein, and chatted about for the first time, told this story. I think I didn't know this, that her universe, the clothing brand, the reason where it got started right here in Toronto. The reason for that was because her husband David was on the Blue Jays roster, but he got injured, and this is what you sign up for when you marry someone, and you're the only person there. You got to take him to doctor's appointments and just help him get through life. And so she had to, I mean, I think the idea was she would be still in Hollywood and figuring things out, but no, she had to come here to Canada and work and be with her husband, and she couldn't get a work visa, and so she couldn't act. She couldn't get. I mean, there's lots of acting gigs here, but she couldn't get any of them. So she said, when a door closes, another one opens, and she said, well, I can do this online thing. This is well before the pandemic. I forget what year this is. Do this online clothing design company, and we know the story with her universe that women and girls didn't really have the same level of geeky clothing that the boys have, and so she's, I'm going to just go do it, make it happen. And of course, it's one of the most popular brands now. There's even our universe for all genders, and so that, yeah, it was really I'm happy to hear that this town, again, punches above our weight. We were proud of that. Again, turning the lemons into lemonade, as we know Ashley can do so well. She also mentioned, and this is a bit of a point over here, Clone Wars, and this is what I was saying, I think, last week. Clone Wars season 1, not necessarily the greatest series. They were, of course, as we know, well into recording season 2 before season 1 even aired, and George was just bankrolling the whole thing and saying, yeah, I know this isn't necessarily what it is now. It's not necessarily there now, but it will get there. And he knew it would get there. He knew that this character, this kind of annoying, sniveling teenager, would come to be one of the most beloved characters in all of Star Wars. He just had a sense of it, I think. And so he let it, he kept pushing and kept working on it, and everyone kept working on it. And
I think your mic just cut out, Matthew.
Oh, are you kidding?
Oh, there it goes. Okay.
We're good. Okay.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good. And remember reminding us. So Ashley was just reminding us. So George just paid for it, and Ashley, she had fallen in love with this character, and so it's, again, we know it's just a different beast. However many hundreds of millions of dollars each episode of the Acolyte cost, it has to be perfect right out of the gate. But I think we've lost something when we can't actually let a series find its legs, and we could lose. We may have lost the next Clone Wars. Maybe that's the thing. We're still thinking of it now. So just remembering how Clone Wars, it's my favorite TV series, full stop. And I was happy to see both Ashley Eckstein and D. Bradley Baker on stage there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the one at Celebration? Wait, did they have one when you were there? The Clone Wars panel?
I don't think so, no.
So this is like your first time seeing D. Bradley Baker and Ashley Eckstein?
Ashley came with last year. So Ashley, James Arnold Taylor, and Matt Lanter. During the strike, but I guess we're in a different union or something, and so they give a full, or the show was already done, so They gave a full-on celebration level panel last year. That's one.
Yeah.
But it's the first time seeing D.
D's been really making us rounds, that guy, because even my girlfriend commented, like, when we seen him at San Diego, she's like, oh, it's that guy again. I've seen him like every con we've been at in the last like 2 years. I was like, when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, he was at New York Comic Con. Pretty sure he was at Celebration. It's like, he's everywhere. It's like, and every time I'm playing Outlaws, I hear Nick's making noise. I'm like, it just dawns on me, like, that is the Bradley Baker, voice of the clones, voicing this freaking cute ass, hilarious, hairy tentacle thing creature. It's like, oh my gosh. Anyway,
he's also Nubs, right?
Yes.
So
yep.
You know, he's such an incredible range, such a diverse range. He'd be up there. He was doing impressions.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing impressions. He was doing voices.
Yep.
Up there. So fantastic. Also, then again, saw Rosario Dawson, which was amazing to see both Ashley Eckstein in one day and then Rosario Dawson the next day. And Ken Monahan was there. I just couldn't see him because here's why: is because they put Rosario then Cam, and it's not like Hall H where you can just stay. They actually make you go out, and
they had a panel with him.
Yeah, they had just a Q&A on his own.
What was it, like a Star Wars title of the panel? Like, what's it called? Like a Jedi or something like that? I don't know. Like some.
I don't remember.
Okay, I would imagine that like most of the questions would probably be like the Jedi Fallen Order question. I was wondering if like any like nice little like tidbits might have coming out from that for the sequel, but I haven't heard anything. But granted, I have been staying off the internet, guys. Spoilers, I can't even trust my friends anymore for Outlaws. Like anytime like a friend of mine says Outlaws, like I have to be very careful about what I read. So it's really hard out on the streets dodging spoilers left and right over here, but I'll let you get back to it.
So now you know how I felt. There you go. Now you know how I felt. So speaking of a show that is getting a second season, Rosario was asked or by the moderator, I think, or by a fan, what where would she like to see this character go in season 2? And I really appreciated her answer. Is what we've all seen and thought, with episode 5 there, how interestingly enough is able to incorporate more of the character we saw in the animated series in Clone Wars, with this younger, more levity is the phrase Rosario used. And,
okay.
That she's faced her trauma, she's faced her past. Nothing's ever conclusively done, but she's really set on that trajectory now. And that episode 5 does constitute a turning point, where even that second, that kind of the epilogue there, where they're in the Purgil and coming through, she's already smiling more and laughing more and in more white, more lightness. And so for us to get a whole season where she's going to explore what that means for her at this age, at this stage of her life, to integrate that into what has been a more stoic master, is what Rosario is looking for. It's what we're all looking for. And so bring on Ahsoka season 2. I know, again, we're kind of still salty about Acolyte, but happy that at least one of these Space Wizard shows is gonna get its time. Of course, it's the show that Filoni runs, so it had a better chance, but we know it wasn't entirely in the bag either. So good to know at least they made that decision. So those are about the Ahsokas. Do you have anything stand out to you there?
Wait, they are both on the same panel.
No,
okay.
It was Ashley and D, and then Rosario. I'm just noting that it's fascinating that we got both of them.
Oh, like at the same place. Yeah. It's really cool because they stand. It's an interesting bridge. You have the animation versus live action, and I don't even honestly think about it that way anymore. I just think about it as the character rather than the two actors. And it does seem like from interactions I've heard about through the grapevine that both actors really respect one another. And that's good to hear. It's not like, I'm jealous because you have my character in live action. Like Ashley Eckstein feels very cordial and very proud to see like her character being portrayed by such a great actor. So it's good to see that all coming through the end.
Yeah, I mean, we know she took it a little rough at first, understandably, but yeah, it definitely seems like she's moved through it. And I mean, everything Rosario says about the animated series and about Ashley's performance is, obviously what duly respected. Interesting. People could have gotten a photo op with both of them together. I don't pay for photo ops; those are way
me neither. It's too expensive. Only if it's Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher.
Yeah. So
that's it.
Yeah. I might one day think of going in like a 4-person, pay like $30 or whatever, $50 for for all 4 of us. If it was maybe Hayden Christensen who didn't come. That's one of the things that disappointed me.
That's strange. He's from Toronto. You think he'd be there?
And he was scheduled. He came last year.
Yeah.
And he had a special his own event, like a own separate ticketed event, that he canceled because of the strike. And obviously we were refunded. But I was like, okay, he'll come back for Toronto Comic Con. He'll come back for Fan Expo. Hopefully. I mean, he'll be in Japan. He's got to be in Japan. Right?
Got to fly him out there. I mean, come on. Yeah.
But I don't know if he'll have a Q&A. So we'll see. Maybe New York. Maybe New York. I keep hoping for New York.
He's always in New York for some reason. I feel like the last 2 or 3 years he's been there. Yeah. Heck, the last time he was there, I think that was when he lighted up the Empire State Building, and no. I think this was some other random time he did it, and there was no inkling that he would be doing that. I was like, I would have loved to be there, watch that, but whatever.
I think it was just a separate PR thing. So that let's get to this. I'm excited for this. I'm gonna play my Marc Guggenheim interview. So basically, this is great for the comic authors. I could go through the con or could ask the handler, but for both of them, I went up to Marc and Rodney, and neither of them had their handlers there. So I just walk up to them. I guess it's Marc had maybe. I walked up to them and just asked, "Hey, can I record? Can I ask you a few questions?" And hit record. And they're both complete gentlemen, so kind. This Marc interview is fantastic. So we can figure this out. I'm gonna throw up this mug here. You can enjoy that, and let's give this a listen. Matthew here, back at Fan Expo Canada 2024. I'm on the floor hall here with the one and only Marc Guggenheim. Marc, welcome to Fan Expo Canada.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is fun. I haven't been to Toronto in 10 years.
Well, welcome back to Toronto. Welcome back to Canada. Obviously, first of all, talking here, welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews, talking about Star Wars comics specifically. First question, I guess I'll get to it right out of the gate. On your legal dispatch, kind of buried the lead a little bit. I won't ask you to answer anything you won't tell me, but what about this new project that you've submitted that excites you?
Ooh, good question. Well, it's hard to answer without spoiling exactly what it is, and I don't want to get in trouble with my friend at Lucasfilm, but I think what excites me is I'm writing in an era that I haven't touched in Star Wars, and it's a big ensemble book. So the scope of the book is wider than any other Star Wars project I've tackled. So those are probably the 2 biggest things. And I'm also really excited about the artist I'm working with, but I can't name names.
Do you have a sense of when that might be announced, maybe New York or?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I'm actually 3 scripts in, so I'm pretty deep into the series. No one's told me sort of what the game plan is for the release. My guess is they're waiting on some more art to be finished before we announce.
I mean, for Marvel, I suppose a Dark Horse.
Yeah, it's a Marvel book.
So looking back to things you can talk about, Han Solo and Chewbacca, really fun run. One of the questions that often comes up is, okay, why that book now? How does it connect to Dark Droids? And of course, we got the answer with the brain is blanking on the name, the character that comes back from the High Republic era, all that. What was it like kind of writing a story sort of tangential to what Charles and everyone else was doing, but also then ultimately coming into, especially with Dark Droids?
It was a lot of fun. Back then, during that period of the Star Wars comics, we were all meeting by Zoom every week and sort of keeping tabs on what each other's were doing. Originally it started out as just this Han Solo and Chewbacca book with a very sort of specific sort of storyline. I had this sort of 10-issue arc played out. But one of the fun things about being in constant contact with the other writers is just what they're doing. I realized and was very encouraged by Marc Paniccia, the Star Wars editor who oversees the line, to look for these points of connection that I think make the world feel very lived in and makes the universe feel very interconnected. So for me the appeal was, if you wanted to read all the books and see all the different ways they all connect, you could, but it wasn't required reading, it wasn't homework. So that was a lot of fun for me, because I think Star Wars really was sort of the first film property to really be an interconnected universe, or to be a metaverse. And whenever we do those types of connections in the comics, I feel like we're just honoring the original legacy of the franchise.
Yeah, so what's in that egg? How does that connect?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Of course, come out in a really big way. You mentioned interconnected. It's a bit of a tangent. I don't usually do Star Wars podcast, but I, of course, see the scripts for Arrow and Crisis Infinite Earths and Supergirl, Arrowverse. Writing a large and interconnected story, plotting that out. What's your process for planning all that out, and then for executing it, and how do you navigate the kind of bumps and changes along the way?
Well, I think sort of there's two answers. One is that I believe you start off small. You start off just like with Han and Chewie, you start off, you tell the story you're looking to tell. And the reason is you don't want the cart of the interconnectivity and the cart of the universe to drag the horse of the story and the characters. So, focusing first on what is the story, and then adding that filigree of, this is how it all connects up, I think is, it's the way I believe in doing it. In terms of Crisis on Infinite Earths, that was... the trick there was, I didn't want to come in and tell the other showrunners what to do with their shows, because I wouldn't have appreciated that, if someone did that to me. So with Crisis, it was really creating a framework, a skeletal structure for the showrunners to be able to come in and say, oh, this is an opportunity for me to do X, or I've always wanted to do Y, or it'd be really cool to do Z. It was really sort of designed to be encouraging of the other showrunners, as opposed to being prescriptive to them and dictating what needs to happen. So that was just a fun exercise. It was fun to work with the other showrunners and help. We all collectively crafted a story that we all wanted to tell.
It sounds a lot like what people say about writing Star Wars stories, right?
Yeah, I think, with Star Wars, you're obviously working in a big universe, and I love personally working with Lucasfilm and the story group there, because they are really, they love Star Wars as much as we do, and they're so collaborative, and if they ever say you can't do X, they'll always give you an option to do Y.
And then, speaking of which, the last book you did for Star Wars, D-Squad, that you were able to be part of the main Dark Droids storyline, and a very important part of the droids and the D-Squad. First off, bringing back that arc, not all the characters from the Clone Wars arc, but whose idea was that? Was that your pitch, or was that Lucasfilm?
The original pitch was, because we're doing an event that's centered around droids, the original pitch was R2 assembles the Avengers of Droids. And then, obviously, the question was, which are the droids that we, are talking about? And then, of course, once you start to get into Clone Wars territory, it becomes a conversation with Lucasfilm about which characters can we use, which ones can't we.
Bring later in the timeline.
Yeah, bringing in Chopper for a cameo was heavily discussed very early on. Bringing in QT. that it's just conversations. It's it's just no one likes surprises, and I don't blame them. But it's just that was a fun book to do, especially because my rule, when I write Star Wars is that I only give myself as many narrative devices as they had in the live action shows. So that means no translation for R2. You've got to be true to the way you tell that story, and it was just a lot of fun.
And that leads into my last question. It's easily the funniest comic I've ever read. I've only been reading for about 10 years or so, but I just amazed. How were you able to take these even like non-verbal droid characters? Obviously we have the verbal droid characters, but the non-verbal ones, and with the art, with the story, how are you able to on a paper medium make something so hilarious and ridiculous?
Well, I honestly got to give all the credit to Salva Epson. I mean, he just his art was just so perfectly suited to this, and I told Marc and the other editors, Danny and Mike, that I've been working in comics for 20 years now, and I've never worked on a comic where the artist was so perfectly chosen, and he really, his style and his storytelling really sold the humor. I can't take any credit.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Enjoy Toronto.
Cool, thank you.
All right, that was great, man. I first of all, the idea of just sending me those voice clips, I'm like, whoa, like you actually pulled it off. And as somebody that's been doing the content creation thing for just a little bit longer than you have, I've interviewed people on the spot and whatnot, and it takes a lot of cojones to go up to people at their table and be like, hey, I'm basically in my eyes, I'm like a nobody. Can I record you? It's like. And most of the time they'll say, yeah, you know what I mean? So it's pretty great that you're able to have the confidence and they were generous with their time and the amount of what they were going to give you information was great.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely was such a meaty interview. He's such a great communicator. I'm still, really grateful and kind of in awe that he was able to just say so much in such a short time.
Yeah.
And so definitely some pretty meaty things. First of all, there was a method to the madness about asking about the Arrowverse, the DC stuff, because of what I think you speculated is maybe he's got the keys to the next overall Star Wars story.
Yeah, I really feel like when he said new era that I've never written in, and it's an ensemble cast, that's what really gives it away for me. It's like, oh wow, like we're dealing with big overarching story arcs, possibly. So that's usually what the flagship deals with. So maybe.
But the point being, whether if it is, he's still going to maybe start small and start with this one little bit, kind of like the way, the whole Battle of Jakku arc, that Alex Segura's writing, that is starting small. Sorry, but then what Marc might take this over. He wrote that one shot, that kind of Revelations one shots. That was kind of starting it small, and leading into the bigger thing too. So to say, he might be, but that ensemble cast in an era he's never written in, So we can speculate away. It sounds, I don't know, but all this this much, make it happen. We want this. This would be great. He clearly he gets it. He gets Star Wars. He gets the fun of Star Wars. He gets the depth of Star Wars. Even in a run as ridiculous as D Squad has the heart that Star Wars has. So
I got a chance to speak with Marc at my panel about the bounty hunters and smugglers and all, and I was with Ethan Sachs, of course, famed comic book writer, and Adam Christopher is there as well as a bunch of all of us guys from the SW. And Marc was sitting there in the front row seat, and I'm like,
you just showed up
before. Yeah, he just showed up at the panel. He was sitting in the front row seat, and I seen him like getting chummy with Ethan, like they knew each other. And then like I heard Marc, like his name was mentioned, and it dawned on me, and I went up to him. I'm like, are you Marc Guggenheim? And he's like, sure am. And he was like super friendly. And then I was like, oh crap. Now I have like a published Star Wars writer, like the front row looking right at me. But he was great. He was having a good old time. He said he really enjoyed the panel. So yeah, Marc is just a great human being. And it's good that he's, able to give back to the many fans of the work out there and with his time. And, it's great.
Yeah. So, again, great communicator, can talk about Star Wars. Yeah, there's definitely this interview specifically being a highlight. I'm trying to think of maybe anything else. Again, it seems like crediting the artist on D Squad.
Yeah,
blanking on his name too, but it was definitely interesting to hear. He was very much in on the the Slack chat or whatever it was.
Yes.
Group, which is it would have kind of made sense. Maybe he might not have, because the Han Solo and Chewbacca was just not
so separate, kind of. Yeah,
he was so separate, but he was in on it again, and partly because he wrote the Revelations one shot that kind of previews all of it. But yeah, there'd be him being in on it and him being part of this larger overarching thing with the whole Crimson saga, if you will, and of course leading into Dark Droids. Yeah, why not let him take the wheel and everything? So, looking forward to whatever this is. Just a bit of background in Legal Dispatches, his Substack, and he just snuck in this comment. Oh yeah.
The mic.
Having issues.
Oh, that's it. That's good now.
Needing tissues. Having issues. Needing tissues. He snuck in something and he submitted this thing. So here's a pro tip, guys. I've realized this. If you ever want to ask a Star Wars creative about something they can't talk about details, ask what excites them about it, what interests them about it, and they'll be able to answer. I find non-spoilery answers.
Yeah.
Anyways, right? Because
that's
the meat of it.
That's really good, right? Because there's a big conversation on the flagship last week. I'm catching up on podcasts here because I was off on my weekend job, which is where I listen to all my podcasts. But anyway, I digress. And they were talking about like all these actors like Temuera, Morrison, like, I'm waiting for the call. I'm waiting for the call for this, for that. And that's all they can really say. Yeah. But if you, like you did, that's a brilliant way of easing your way around to at least getting the feel for what the story might be, So
yeah, and I just found a more substantive answer anyway. So that's good. That's great. Again, thank you again for Marc for his time and for giving us such meaty answers, such substantive answers. Any last thoughts before we move on to the next interview?
All right, I'm ready. Let's do it.
So this is Rodney Barnes, who, just a bit of a thing. I did Rodney's first, so that's why I introduced the Marc one with we're back on the floor, but I decided we're just doing them out of order. So same deal. Walked up right to him, asked him if I could chat, and we did. I'm gonna throw up, I believe this one first, just because we talked about that first. So enjoy Rodney Barnes. All right, Matthew here on the floor of Fan Expo Canada 2024. I'm here with the one and only Rodney Barnes. Rodney, is this your first time in Toronto? If not, welcome to Canada.
Thank you. No, it's not my first time. I was here for almost a year working on American Gods a couple of years ago.
That makes sense. It's the center for one of the centers for production and television production and whatnot. Mainly asking about Star Wars comics. It's what we do on the Tractor Beam Comics Review. So welcome to the Tractor Beam. Just two main questions. So you've done both original stories and the adaptations of the shows. What's it like kind of going back and forth and doing the different iterations, different types of storytelling?
Well, anytime I get to play in the Star Wars universe, it's an honor. So regardless of what they ask me to do, I typically just say yes. I prefer the original stories because they're canon, and so anytime that you can contribute to something as sprawling as the Star Wars universe, again, it's an honor.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'll admit, I'm very much more invested in the original stories that you write, which is fair. On that, your Lando Double or Nothing. I guess that was your first kind of foray.
That was my first gig. My first Star Wars gig was then, and then IG-88 for War of the Bounty Hunters, and then the Inquisitors, and I have a few more coming up.
About Lando Double or Nothing, what about Lando, maybe anything that Charles Soule laid down and from the films that drew you to the character to write that story?
It wasn't so much because Charles' stuff was more of the classic Billy D. Williams version of Lando, and mine was the younger one that was connected to Solo. So it was more of trying to embody what the Solo movie was, more so than the other stuff.
Yeah, and what Donald Glover infuses into that character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is a little different than what Billy D. did.
For sure. And then moving on to Inquisitors, really intriguing. First off to say, congrats on giving us a whole new set of characters, of course, some from Rebels, but the Jedi characters especially, who I immediately feel like I already know them and I'm familiar with them. How were you able to achieve that level of familiarity with new characters?
I think the idea to me was I have a class. My idea of a Jedi is the classic Jedis that I met in the original series. So I was trying to create Jedis who had that feeling. I was thinking about Order 66 and what it must feel like to be on the run and kind of be scattered a little bit. So I wanted Jedis who had the opportunity to sort of embody the old stuff, plus infuse a little bit of the new stuff and where the Jedi is heading.
And I mean, it's a real throwback, I think, to Dark Times, that comic, where, there's the question of what do we do? The Order is gone. In terms of both the institution and the relationships there, but also there's a moral gray area here with this character. Obviously, I mean, don't spoil anything, but should I be worried about him?
You should worry about every Jedi because the Inquisitors have nothing to play with. They're committed, but so are the Jedi to rebuilding. So whatever it takes, I think that gray area that you're speaking to is when you're under attack, you can't necessarily play by the rules in the classic sense. You got to do what you got to do to survive. And I think right now the Jedi are trying to survive, and I think Tensu Run is in a position of how are we going to rebuild this thing? So whatever I have to do, I'm committed to that. And the Inquisitors have the same level of commitment to stopping him from doing that. So it is a tenuous situation. I can say not everybody's going to make it out, but we don't know which side, whether that's the Inquisitor side or the Jedi side.
And, I mean, of course, Inquisitors, we have some, we know some from Rebels, we know some from Jedi Fallen Order. What about the Inquisitorius and the Inquisitors drew you to write this story?
When they offered me the job, they said that they wanted something dark like my Philadelphia work, something that was sort of not so friendly and not so much like when you mentioned Lando, the Double or Nothing series, a lot of jokes. It was lighthearted. Here we want something dark-hearted. So I wanted to write something because I think that's what I do best anyway, is the darker kind of stuff. And the opportunity to create kind of a horror story within the Star Wars universe was something I couldn't look away from.
In Philadelphia, of course, from Image Comics, I see on the table here.
Yes.
I remember at New York Comic Con, you were in the kind of the Image panel, I believe, right? Yeah, it was a great panel back then. Are you going to New York this year, you think?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. I'm trying to do all the big cons this year, so I'm here. Yeah.
So, Fan Expo Canada, I'm glad you're here. You mentioned off the top you're submitting some new things from Star Wars on the way. Obviously, I won't ask you to say anything you can't say.
Yeah.
What about those stories intrigues you or excites you?
When you mention Lando, that's a lighthearted story. We go to the Inquisitors, that's a dark story. The opportunity to kind of play in the middle. I mean, I think anytime you can do a Star Wars story that has big human themes, life, death, all of the stuff in between, I dig that sometimes as much as the myth. So this story that I have coming up is a major classic character who goes on an adventure of self-discovery. So as I get older, as I ask myself questions, it's great to be able to infuse that into Star Wars characters.
Yeah, that sounds really fantastic. Really, really curious to hear. I mean, I don't know when that'll be announced, but
yeah, it's hopefully by the end of the year. It's weird. They seem like they announce stuff doing San Diego or New York. Yeah, those seem to be the two. So I'm going to say probably New York.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you there because I'm going to be there too. But
Likewise.
yeah, so Rodney Barnes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right. So that's Rodney Barnes from the floor of Fan Expo Canada. I'll remove that there. Yeah. Again, another gentleman who knows his stuff, knows how to communicate well about Star Wars. Yeah, that really interesting comment about he enjoys the themes of life and death and aging, and going on a journey as much as the myth. Of course, what I always say about Star Wars, it works at its best. It works on the personal level, and then the political, social level, and the cosmic level. And so it sounds like this can be a personal story of a major character.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Again, Tractor Beam breaking news here, everybody. We're breaking exclusives left and right here. Thanks to Matthew. Feels good. It feels good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's interesting because it seems like there's so much in the pipeline, right? Like these guys are making between Marc, between Rodney, between whoever else.
Yeah.
How far ahead of lead time are they working before these things are even announced? So yeah, you're going to get your wish, man. I think we're going to get a boatload of announcements in about a month and a half, about less than 2 months' time at this point. So we'll be very, very happy to get that news in person. We'll see him there on the panel maybe, and we'll see, we'll see Marc Guggenheim on that panel, I'm sure, and it's going to be good times all around.
I mean, I just got out of Fan Expo Canada. I'm definitely excited for New York, in part because, it sounds like there's, like you're saying, there's going to be lots of these releases. And the story, well, first of all, talk about Inquisitors. I was asking, should I be worried about Tensu Ran?
Yeah.
Interesting. I think he interpreted it. Should I be worried about is his life in danger? But then he also said, that when the Order's rebuilding and things are he's on the run. Things have fallen apart with Order 66. You got to do what you got to do to survive. And so what I'm wondering again, and I brought this up, I think when we talked about issue number 2. I'm wondering what him flirting with the dark side. I'm wondering what the implications of that might be. That's what I'm worried about. But maybe. I mean, honestly, to die on the light side for a Jedi is more. Well, it is honorable than to preserve your life on the dark side.
Yeah, and become, like you said, maybe he'll become an Inquisitor.
Yeah.
He'll die in a sense. His light will die out of him, and he will be literally a dark side user.
Yeah.
How about that? We get one of these new Inquisitors made. We'll see them appear in one of these other comics down the road. Oh, that's the 12th brother. Yeah, that's Tensu Run there. I don't know.
Maybe. And this will be the first time we'll have. I mean, just we're speculating here. We don't really know, but it'll be fascinating. This is the first time we have this side of the story, right? We had in that Mace Windu comic. We we did have a little bit. We had that Mace Windu, Jedi of the Republic, who turns out ends up becoming an Inquisitor.
Yeah. Oh, no. We have Tales of the Empire, Barasafi.
Yeah, that's true. We do have her. But I mean, she ends up bolting pretty quickly. But yeah, we do have her. But yeah, this one feels as
no. We have the book, right? Oh, you haven't read that book. That's why you didn't mention it.
Well, we already know she's an Inquisitor. That's the thing. So.
Well, the character, this cat starts off as a Jedi, though.
Yeah, that's true. So it's kind of funny. I wonder how much of that I've actually had spoiled. Just because in one of the panels at New York Comic Con, like, is it Delilah Dawson? She's talking about that book. So yeah, that's true. That is one. I mean, that's the thing within that whole orbit of the dark times. What do Jedi do? What do they do to survive? What are they willing to do to preserve the light? Just like Luthen, just like Saw Gerrera, in some other ways. What are they willing to do to preserve the light? And so, very fascinating. What kind of moral compromises they're willing to make? So, is that? Do you have any last thoughts on on this Rodney Barnes interview?
Great transition on the questions, man. I think you got a future for being a reporter on the front lines. I mean,
Yeah.
smooth transitions on the pivoting, asking certain questions. It's not easy to do, especially when you're on the spot. It's good stuff, though.
You live and learn. On that note, well, first of all, thank you. On the note, in the Taylor Swift panel, Lou, I shout out to him. He did a great job live in front of a crowd of Swifties, doing the exact same thing, right? Asking transitioning questions. So yeah, it is difficult. It requires some good listening, but yeah, I was able to, listening and talking on the spot. So, but also say though, if you're in those environments, anyone's out of con, that's the thing I love so much about comicality. So much. It's you walk right up, usually not a line at all. Usually, it's always $0 to at least talk. Someone is starting to charge for interview for not for interviews for autographs, but yeah, they want to talk. They're happy to. They're just ordinary folks like us. Some of them maybe earn more, some of them not necessarily. I'm just trying to make it themselves. And so they're all, that's the thing is to a person, they're all grateful when they see that, someone has week by week or month by month or picked up the trade or whatever, spent the time and money and effort and thought to actually read something they've written, because this is a niche industry and it is a niche a niche sliver of fandom. It's pretty big, especially Marvel and DC and whatnot, but in Star Wars it's no sliver. All that to say, anyone who's at a con, just walk right up. I mean, near Comic Con, I was losing my mind at how big. It's a whole room. It's a whole hall for a Comic Con.
It's a whole room.
Insane kind of deal. So yeah. So that's it's definitely humid here as well. I'll say that just today. Although the weekend it wasn't that bad.
It was nice out here.
Yeah, it was nice. So that a few more things to chat about with Fan Expo. Picking back up both the panels again. I mentioned Bryce Dallas Howard. She was there. Obviously, she talked about Jurassic World and Black Mirror and a few other things. She was asked about Yaddle. Shout out to Ash, who asked her about Yaddle, and said she'd do anything for Star Wars, and how talked about her dad quite a bit and how it's things she's learned from this fellow named Ron, who she proudly carries on his legacy and his name. And someone asked about her family legacy and how they just haven't had the kinds of scandals. This is sort of Star Wars adjacent, but I was just struck by, just maybe a similar point with Comic Alley. Ron Howard, Bryce Dallas Howard, Clint Howard, they're normal people. I mean, Clint had some struggles, but say that Bryce was saying they're just normal people with normal everyday struggles and families, and how her grandparents were able to raise 2 child actors, and that was that's a challenge to raise them as well adjusted as they can, and how Ron has then passed this on to Bryce Dallas, and of course she has, I don't know how many kids she has, but to carry on that legacy of not letting things get to her head too much. She actually is interesting. She said she is more sensitive to criticism, more sensitive to people's opinions, and so she has to be more careful with just not reading things, not buying things, mean to things. She said she'd do anything for Star Wars. Here's a bit of an interesting point. She specifically asked direct on Skeleton Crew. She went to Dave and John and said, "Can I be involved in this?"
Really?
Yeah, that's what she said. She asked.
That's
no, but I mean, she has the cred to do that. She has the standing to do that, because she's she's done a great job on the Mandalorian, and a great job on
Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. That 7 Samurai episode of the Mandalorian is one of my favorites. It's a simpler episode, sure, but I really appreciate it. So I really enjoyed it still. So that So she asked to direct on Skeleton Crew. She was on Skeleton Crew, like directing it, and she loved it. She thought she had it. She said she had a fantastic experience working with her buddies from college, from NYU. So that's definitely a bit of. I've heard some other things about Skeleton Crew. So it's nice to hear a good positive thing. That it's coming out. You're going to see Suburbia in Star Wars. Why not? So that one last panel thing to share, and we can pick up back everything with Bryce Dallas and everything she said, but also, I mentioned Temuera Morrison. I saw D. Bradley Baker, I saw Temuera Morrison. He was on a panel with Emily Swallow and Giancarlo Esposito. Emily Swallow, of course, is the armor. Giancarlo Esposito, Moff Gideon, and you can really pick up all three of them, these folks in Mando uniforms, definitely love the story, love Star Wars. Giancarlo, his love for this, it's so infectious. He even talked about the armor and the different from season 1 and 2 into 3 and 4 or into 3. Very different, lot tougher, lot stronger things. Really give a really interesting insight about his character and how that scene where he walks into the Shadow Council, and so the scene where he walks into the Shadow Council and says, "Long live the Empire," and how his approach to that character was, he still believes he's a hero. He still believes he is, Moff Gideon is come to save the day amidst of all these kind of losers around him who are bumbling, like Hux, Brendel Hux, who's just fumbling around. Pelion is like, "Where's Thrawn? Where's Thrawn? We don't know what Thrawn is." And Giancarlo's, I'm here to figure everything out and to sort it all out, to bring back peace and security to the galaxy, make the galaxy great again, and just with the confidence and gravitas and strength that he knew, Palpatine and Vader had. And so, to say he's a fallen hero, he is fallen from grace. There's something in his past that he said we don't need to know that backstory. That's something that has led him to say no, that this brutal, oppressive regime is the best hope for the galaxy, and that he's the best hope for the galaxy. And so that was really, really insightful, just to remember he genuinely believes he's doing the best thing, not just for himself, with the weird cloning and the weird midi-chlorian experiments, and also just bringing back the Empire. Again, we don't really think that, we don't really remember that when we're watching the show. We're just cheering for Din and Grogu and Bo-Katan and who knows who else and everyone else. But so that makes him so much more formidable until, of course, he meets his demise. But there's that. We'll play on another note, on a lighter note. I do have a clip from this. This is more of a real world thing. Just to say, when someone asked the question, do you have any stories about Carl Weathers, who died last year or in the last number of months, and all three of them, of course, were on the show with him, or directed by him, or both. And so I thought, okay, this is a good time to just get my phone out, hit record. I don't know, I'm may or may not be taking credit for this. Giancarlo saw me with my phone recording, looks over, and so he drops an F-bomb in the story that he tells. So warning to that. Don't know how to bleep it out. No one can know where to fill with that. So just there's one F-bomb in this, but sit back and enjoy just the story of remembering Carl Weathers, and hopefully the audio works out.
Signing, so I always used to go to Carl and pretend I was Sylvester Stallone. Come on, Paul. And he always used to say, on your toes. And he's right. You're going to do that dance and you've got to be on your toes. What a beautiful man. He was actually getting fit to do another project too, so he was watching his diet, and he was training a little bit more intensely, and yeah, what a beautiful man. Plus, we got to work with him on the Mandalorian show as well, as a director and an actor, so it's just wonderful to be part of him. But yeah, I love boxing, so I always used to ask him some of his knowledge. He was a great sportsman too back in his day. But he's never actually boxed, he was saying. He actually, he was more of a track and field. Yeah. Incredible.
Well, it's a beautiful, beautiful story. I knew him for a number of years, and I just feel like he's right beyond the veil. I mean, I feel when I started to think about his passing, and it just really stunned me, I realized, wow, what a kind of a beautiful death. I mean, you know, he went to sleep and he was out of here. But I was working in London on a piece called The Gentleman, and so we went to the Star Wars celebrations, and Carl says, you know, I went to this shoe place, George Cleverly shoes, and the guy, you know, said that Giancarlo Esposito had just been in here, and you know, so I said, call me, I really want these shoes, but they're expensive. I said, are you having them made, or are you just taking them off the rack? Well, I'd like to have them made. Well, if you're gonna have them made, you gotta have 2 pairs, not 1. 2 pairs? It's like $17,000. I said, Carl, I'll buy 1 for you. No, you don't have to do that. But I mean, should I get them? Are they quality shoes? And I said, Carl, let me be honest with you. The ones that they got me for The Gentleman they were just off the rack. I didn't get them made. But the guy said that you were getting a last made. So should I get a last made? I said, if you're gonna get the shoes made and spend $20,000, get a last made. Okay, well what if they don't work out? What if they don't fit me right? I said, Carl, get the shoes! I love that man. It's a great story.
Did he get them?
He did!
I want to know what shoes
I hope he wore those motherfuckers. At least once.
I remember being so delighted when I found out what a big fan of theater Carl was. And I still remember the moment. It was also a moment at Celebration, but it was in Anaheim when he and I were sitting at a table in the green room, and he started to tell me about this play that he was really excited to go see. It was in Los Angeles, and Joe Morton was in it. And I said, well, Carl, I'm in that play. And he looked at me like he didn't, I realized that in that moment he was recalculating who he thought I was. And all of a sudden, this whole new world of conversation opened up to us, which was wonderful, because I also didn't know that he was such a fan of live theater and such a student. He was such a student of actors and the process and directors, and he wanted to know how people worked. And he came to see the play, and we had great conversations about it, and it really changed the way that we knew each other, and it showed me so clearly, that I also had this idea of him, because he was this huge persona, and I was a little intimidated by that, and I don't know a lot about football. I didn't know if we were gonna, what we were gonna talk about, and he became such a dear friend, and I just always remember how curious he was and how generous he was in extending his spirit to other people and wanting to know, what makes you tick? How do you work? How do you do this? He was always wanting to learn more. Amazing, thank you.
So that was Emily Swallow, Giancarlo Esposito, and Tim Morrison hogging the limelight, chatting about Carl Weathers. Really, really wonderful clip. Really great story. These 3 are great storytellers too. Striking like that. That about does it for the Fan Expo Canada recap. Anything there I said stand out to you? Anything you heard there stand out to you? If you unmute yourself.
Yeah, no, that was definitely something that seemed like it was a really enjoyable panel. I didn't even realize that it was going to be 3 people that wore Mandalorian armor. So that's something that I've seen every one of those guys. Maybe no, I don't know if I've ever seen Temuera Morrison live, but yeah, he right now I have at the Attack of the Clones anniversary. That's right, him and Daniel Logan. That was good times.
So good. Yeah, so I was there too. Emily, I sang karaoke with twice. So there you go. Nice. All right, I think so I think that does it for our Fan Expo Canada recap. Yeah, I'm thinking we might transition now just very quickly because we're getting short on time here. I don't know if you have time to show the the clip. You have prepared a clip, but let you take the floor and just gush about Outlaws. Seems the last thought, and then we'll take us out.
Yeah, you can run it real quick. Just a couple of minutes. I mean, I'm going to be talking about it again on Outer Rim Transmission later on this week on Sunday, so I'll be able to spend a good hour.
Nice.
My co-host will let me monologue for that long because I don't think either of them played the game. Yeah. But basically, this game is something I've been waiting for a very long time, and that is an open world Star Wars game. And not only that, it's an open world Star Wars game where you're playing a scoundrel. And as you see this footage here, this is just like the opening sequence of setting up the entire game story of this guy named Slira, who is the head of the Zarek Besh organization, criminal organization that's centered on Canto Bight. So we have a lot of it very much evokes the Solo vibe, even going to the title card of the video game Outlaws. Like it even has that like flashy neon kind of Solo Star Wars story aesthetic to it. So right off the bat, you already know you're kind of what you're getting yourself into. But yeah, as you just seen here, like this guy, he knows how to make an appearance because he is making himself known. But what really ties this in is this is set deeply into that era that we have been entrenched in for 4 years, and that is in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, namely with the whole War of the Bounty Hunter saga, Crimson Reign, the Hidden Empire, all those major storylines. The story group has done a phenomenal job. The writers at Massive and Ubisoft have done an incredible job of really threading in a lot of those different crime syndicates. I was very surprised that you're going against the Sixth Kin on Canto Bight. You're actually getting to interact with like the same kind of people that are, Ariel and Just Lucky are part of there on Canto Bight. You're in the Workers District, which I'm pretty sure that's where they're at most of the time whenever they're on Canto Bight. There's even a mention of Wen Delphus, who is the leader of the Sixth Kin. You even go to a specific location called Club Tarsus. I'm gonna have to go back and flip open some Dr. Aphra comics and see if I'm pretty sure they were probably in there. But like Kay Vess is a really cool, likable character. She's basically sort of like Han Solo in a way where she is that archetype, but she's a lot less experienced than Han Solo. She kind of goes with the flow and makes a lot of mistakes. She's very kind of naive into the whole thing. She is just somebody getting in over her head. But what's really fun as you're watching this is like you can literally bet on 5-year races. Nice. You can play Corellian or what is it, Corellian and Sabacc or some version of Sabacc. You can play like little arcade games. You can in open world. It's basically like Red Dead Redemption 2 meets The Division 2 meets a Star Wars game, because it's really got like at its heart of it, it's got a lot of the cover based mechanics of like you are going against the Empire, you're going against criminal syndicates, and you're making sure that you're just doing missions, and there's a reputation system. So Crimson Dawn is one of the marquee organizations that you can actually side with, and if you side with Crimson Dawn, there's a lot of double crossing in this game. You make decisions, big decisions, where it's like, okay, you're going to hand in this information to this guy or this guy. If you hand it in to Crimson Dawn, then you're going to make the Hutts mad. I'm at the point where I've gone all out war against the Pike Syndicate. So I have like I have these Pike guys coming up to me in the middle of another mission, mind you, trying to kill me constantly. They set like hit squads on swoop bikes after me. At one point, I'm going towards this pirate cave thing, and then these swoop guys come out of nowhere. I'm fighting them off, and then an Imperial lander comes down and stormtroopers come out of there. They're taking out these pirates, and I'm going up and I'm killing them. It's very emergent. Like things just kind of happen naturally in this game, and it really feels lived in. When you go into like the main locations on Tashara, which is the main new planet that they made, it's very, very nice. By the way, like it looks like they really put a lot of heart and care into a brand new Star Wars planet, because this has like a lot of stuff with wind. They have these very, very high winds, and they have this stuff called amberite. And amberite is like this it's amber, but it's like solidified, but it's like this bright orange kind of stuff that's shiny all over the cliffs and different things. And you really see a lot of character and detail put into the environments. You go to Morrigana, which is the capital city of this planet, and it's basically built into a mountain, and you're walking around, and there's people everywhere. You feel like you're literally like you're in Star Wars. You are immersed. You're walking around. You're seeing stormtroopers. Just today, I just walked around. I seen stormtroopers like quartering these thugs up against the wall, and like they're pulling out their blaster, but then at the same time, these criminals are entrenched with the Imperial governor, who also has deals with the Pike Syndicate. So they're saying like, oh yeah, we have you in our pocket because ultimately we own this place. And the stormtroopers are getting kind of mad because they're like, what do you mean? Like we are not. So like, there's all this tension that's going on, because you see in Solo when you have Dryden Voss basically kills that Imperial officer on his ship and all. It's very Solo. It's very Outlaw. That's what it is. It's all that. And you of course have Nix, which is the most useful kind of companion I've seen in a video game. You can go and have it do all these different commands. You can go have it fetch stuff like weapons, you can have it distract enemies and play dead. And then they're like, wait, what's going on? What is this random creature that just died in front of me? And then you go and hit the stormtrooper on the back of the head in stealth. It's very much very cool here. You can pick up different weapons and shoot them, but you're mainly going to use your blaster. But yeah, I really have been enjoying the game so far. I just got off Tashara. I got my ship, by the way, and you can go on your ship, your Trailblazer ship, and you can go into hyperspace. You can battle different Imperials. You can go seamlessly from the ground into space, land on an Imperial space station, do a mission there, get the heck out of there before they figure out you're there, and then land on another planet all seamlessly without any loading screens. It's absolutely amazing, like the technology that they've been able to just immersively put you in the game without getting pulled out all the time. You have cool things like this where it's like you're slicing into different things, and it's basically like a rhythm game. Like you have to like you hear the sounds, and you have to like time the trigger presses with the sounds to go in and open up different things like that. But yeah, 2 thumbs up for me so far. 2 thumbs up right now. Granted, I'm not even I feel like I literally am just touching the tip of the iceberg on this one. There's going to be so much. Like I'm 8.5 hours in. This is probably going to take me, I think it's like 60 hours plus if you do most of the stuff. There's a lot of quests, a lot of different things in here. But I think this is what people have been waiting for. It's certainly what I've been waiting for. Very much doesn't feel like a usual Ubisoft game. I know that was one of the criticisms. People are like, oh, it's going to be another Assassin's Creed. No, it definitely doesn't feel like Assassin's Creed. It doesn't feel like Far Cry. It borrows some elements from them, but it has its own identity. This is awesome. I love this part where these stormtroopers just pulled up on speeder bikes here, and then I become wanted. Amazing. And then at one point, the Death Trooper hit squad comes after me, and I just got destroyed. We got the swoop bike, which is really fun. You just do these jumps, and the game looks absolutely beautiful as you see like the grass, the wind, the physics here, just unbelievable, beautiful. Like here's where some other dudes come up, and I'm just like, this is like Red Dead Redemption, right? Like you have like that auto lock on kind of thing. Oh man, yeah, this game is great. Tune in later on this week, Outer Rim Transmission on Sunday. I'll be showing you guys more clips like this and giving more of a full breakdown. But this is my first impression. Very impressed.
I got a number of thoughts just watching this. Well, the first thought, the character. You mentioned Solo. Han in Solo, he's also kind of wet behind the ears. I mean, that story is about him learning to be a little less naive and learning to be to be less trusting of people he's more inclined to trust. So it seems like Kay, similar kind of deal here, but this young woman who's trying to make her way through the galaxy. it sounds to me, thinking about, of course, the natural thing of how does this compare? How does this stack up? Because before this, it sounds like, Fallen Order was the most immersive, was the most gripping story. For me, probably the Space Wizard fan during Order 66 and the Dark Times, are probably going to enjoy that story better. I guess I can roll it again. Roll that again. And yeah, but yeah, that first of all, that it's so seamless between you get into you go around a planet and you explore the planet and then you get into hyperspace. With Fallen Order, it's these specific planets, and I mean, maybe eventually it'll feel that way too. It'll feel, once you get more familiar, or people get more familiar with the world, it'll feel more contained. Although I gather it's far more open. There's far more map than Fallen Order and Survivor.
Oh yeah. There's a lot to it. Yeah.
Just the responsiveness. Yeah, like you're saying, you all the just seems far more sophisticated in terms of how the rest of the characters and the rest of the environments respond to your actions and your choices. It seems like they just built in so much more.
Yeah.
That it looks, and that they didn't compromise any a moment of visual quality here.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Seems like quite the achievement. And then, of course, to top it all off, the thing I'm probably most interested in here, it's connected to the stories you and I have read and talked about on this podcast.
Yep, Kira's been mentioned quite a few times, and I'm dealing with some underbosses of the Crimson Dawn. I have access now to get into one of their hideouts on Morrigana, where they actually have exclusive gear I can buy. I actually have a Crimson Dawn blaster now, which is pretty cool, and I can eventually unlock like a full customized outfit, which gives me like certain perks and stuff like that.
So it seems just part and parcel as part of the Crimson Saga. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Charles was a consultant on it a little bit.
Oh yeah,
so
I'm sure. Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to. I mean, 60 hours. I don't know. I'm probably going to try and find a very condensed walkthrough to get the story mode as much as I can. I'm less worried about spoilers on this one than you are, obviously, because I'm not playing it. But
you got 2 minutes.
Got 2 minutes. Get to know. There we go. Less worried on spoilers. It's okay. In this one, but looking forward to just seeing everyone enjoy this game, appreciate this game, and what kind of impact and what kind of bar it sets for Star Wars, new Star Wars game.
Oh yeah, looking for it.
There you go. So, all right, I'm gonna bring that off. I think it's about time. Again, a bit very different kind of show tonight. Fan Expo recap, showing clips, playing stuff. We do have next week. Releasing next week. We do have all High Republic next week. Kanaka, knife in the heart, one shot. But of course, Kanaka, he's showing up in Kevin's Fear of the Jedi in February. So the Marvel comic there. High Republic Adventures, Echoes of Fear, #1, and then the Crash and Burn one shot. Speaking of Corellia. And everything happened with Crash and Svino there. So of these three, I mean, I'm guessing Kanaka was the one, but now who knows? I don't know. What are you looking forward to here?
Yeah, definitely Kalnaka. I mean, apparently this one takes place during the timeline of the actual Phase 3, I think, because I think somebody said that Elzar is in one of the panels. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to see how that integrates.
Yeah, well, it says during the year of the High Republic. It has the gold, which is Phase 1, but that might not mean anything for Adventures and in Phase 3. I might get my insider in, so maybe we'll talk about it then too, for that. But yeah, I think that's ought to do it. Chris, again, thanks for indulging my Fan Expo Canada recap. I'll check out MNEG 1138 for my con haul. I think I'll do it on my personal socials, but I got some things. I'll show this one. So Marc Guggenheim.
Nice art too.
Yeah, this is great. And then this was sweet. Steve McDiarmid, that autograph.
Nice.
I mean, I had these comics before, but got the other. So anyways, check out my Instagram there for when I post my con haul. Yeah, I got the comics. Anyway, where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at StarRaptor, posting many nice, at least I try to make them look better than the photo modes from Outlaws. I have a couple like nice, beautiful scenery, scenescapes. So anything Outlaws, I'm on there, dodging spoilers as I get on there to post stuff. There you go. And then you can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/StarRaptor. As I said, off the top, Sunday, I'll be doing a much bigger breakdown of what I played through so far with Outlaws. So I'd love for you guys to join me there. We'll be live around 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern time there. So there you go. Thanks for having me on. It was great to hear all about your experiences, man. I definitely want to go one time to check it out.
Yeah, you know where to stay. You won't have to pay for accommodation assuming I still live here too. Yeah, you can follow me at Twitter, NEUG485. And on Monday, I will be back to Iron Cannon Monday and Labor Day.
All right.
5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm talking about the Jedi in canon. Paper canon.
Yeah.
Spiritual. Cooking it up. But until then, go check out, if I can find this again. Where is this? Check out Talnaka, check out Echoes of Fear, and check out Crash and Burn. And check out Insider in your local comic book shop. But until then, happy reading.